Hello, hello. Hey. Hello, everyone. Wait, can you guys hear me just longer? Clear. Good. Okay, we're good. All right. I guess it's time to get started. So, hey guys, how's it going? My name is Justin, and you're watching or listening to episode 391. Should be updated. Yeah, 391 DangIT Prodcast. Not the most even number, for sure, but here we are. You may notice if you're watching this right now, our boy Mark, as well as anyone else, is actually not there. So hold on, I gotta switch the scene. I did this all last minute, as per brand. I have a special overlay right here for the season. Should be showing up right now. Nice. So there you have it. We have a little special Christmas overlay that we got going on right now. Definitely could probably use some like cool animation stuff. I actually had in mind that we had something where like snowflakes would be dropping down, but as of right now, I am just a party of one person undergoing this, and I didn't think that's a far ahead as per brand. And so as a result, this is what I got for you guys. So hope you guys enjoy it. It's definitely just a season. I got on right now a sweater or a hoodie that parents got for me, and I'm sporting the Legend of Zelda scarf that my brother gave me a couple of years ago. So we're here, we're embracing the season. The only problem is that I don't have the hat for it. You know, I feel like I should just get that hat at that point, like just to buy the one Santa hat, like just for the one-time use wouldn't be such a bad idea. But for some reason, I never got to that, among a lot of other things. I'm gonna go ahead and get behind me and close the blinds here, since we normally just have that close. But yeah, so hope everyone's been having a good Christmas or just general happy holidays so far. I've been seeing a lot on Twitch specifically because I've just been having just Christmas streams just like booted up and just kind of playing like back to back, and I get a lot of these notifications. Well, I should specify notifications for those channels specifically, right? They get a lot of whatchamacallit, they have a lot of like messages being sent over to them saying that a lot of the people are watching, either them or their family members, have gotten COVID, which is really unfortunate. So I hope that everyone who is watching this currently or just anytime afterward, make sure you guys are safe, and if you do have COVID, you are keeping everyone else safe as well as keeping yourself quarantined, keeping yourself as healthy as possible, because it's not going away. Speaking of which, this was going to be the podcast to reflect, just especially since this is, well, I don't know if you knew about this, but this is the last podcast of 2021 for us anyway, because we do this every Saturday. The next Saturday is actually the 1st of January, so I don't know if I want to do a reflections like then, probably, right, on like the year so far. We can also just do a little bit of like reflections like now, depending on like what plans are going to be like hatched on the 1st. I think we have some plans. I'll have to review that later for sure, but I will say this past year has definitely been a change here and there. Here, I'm gonna just go and check this real quick. Just check your Discord, see if there's any messages. I'm half expecting that someone, mainly Mark, will jump in later on to say like, hey, hit me up on Discord. To be completely honest, I was really expecting myself to do this like as a solo run, just for this week, because I know that like unlike last year's podcast like around this time, yeah, like that was on the 26th and now it's the 25th, so definitely people are going to be preoccupied like during this time. So I was totally down just to do this do the solo the one time, the one time, right? But let me go ahead and pop up some notes here, because for this one I definitely need to take some notes as far as like everything that's well, not everything that's happened. Unfortunately, I don't have a record per se of just everything that's been happening in like a very nice streamlined like note list of highlights, stuff that happened. That would be a really good idea, and that requires bit of planning. I think I have some ideas brewing already. I was already like going through the process of thinking about a lot of stuff. Sorry, guys. Um, and well, it all kind of starts with like my resolutions, everything like that, which is something I want to like talk about this podcast as well. But let me just go ahead and just take a look at all the things I wanted to say. So it is the podcast, right? So I think it'd be fair for us to take a look back on the podcasts that have happened this past year. I believe we had made a full transition to doing podcasts live on Twitch only. We stopped doing it on YouTube. And I don't wait, do we? Was there a reason why? I think oh yeah, you know what? It happens every single time. It was the same thing on actually what was Microsoft's like streamed like thing? Why do I keep forgetting what it's called? But just like that one, we had like some weird upload speed issues on that platform on YouTube when it comes to just like live streaming and everything like that. But on Twitch, it's always been just like never failing, or at least more often than not, it's usually working. And so I think that's why we kind of switched over, because every single time we would stream on YouTube, especially near the latter half of which we had transition at the point we like ended up transitioning from YouTube to Twitch, our health signals were showing low. We kept like bugging out on people or stuttering. So not the greatest thing. Not a big fan of it at all. So we swapped over to Twitch at some point. But just to look back on whatchamacallit, the podcast in general, I'm gonna be 100% honest. I am surprised, especially since I started to work a little bit more like independently, or I guess solo. We just kind of kept doing this as per tradition, because this all started like with the podcast. It's always started way back in like 2012, 2013, somewhere around that portion of time, or that time frame, that I had decided to do this, because Gabe and I at the time wanted to continue to like reconnect even after like our main person that we kind of like talked to, Dennis, had left to go on his Mormon mission. We found a way to still reconnect through the usage of doing like podcasts and whatnot, and we just kind of kept it like that. Fast forward over to this time, it's still kind of crazy to believe that we would still continue to do this, even at times like this. It's kind of like a solo thing. But also shout out to Mark, who's always been like my like, no, I shouldn't say always, because it's like, oh sorry Gabe, no, you're still like number one, Gabe, as far as like the lineup here. But Mark has thus then been the most consistent, jumping in with us for the podcast, and just shouts to him. He couldn't join us, or at least I believe he can't really join us today, because he's got some crazy stuff that happened this past weekend, or this past like holiday. I don't want to really dive into that, because that's his life and he should be the one to share that. So I will leave that with him, you know, for him to talk about, and we will just move on to the next thing. But yeah, the podcast, honestly, I've just been, it's weird because there's a lot of things I want to reflect on when it comes to like things that happened the past year as far as like content creation, and the podcasts have actually been the most consistent thing that I've done, as far as like just doing it like as part of the routine for all the things I do. So even though like it feels like such a small thing that we do, it's also been like the most consistent thing, and therefore been the most important thing for us to do each week. So I think with that in mind, I would still love to continue doing podcasts. And as far as possibly reinventing that, I actually don't know. What would that even entail? It'd be cool if if we had guests on the podcast. It's just, that might be a little bit difficult. I'd have to like start off the whatchamacallit, I would have to start off the conversations with other folk. But yeah, so that's definitely something I should keep in mind of as we move over to 2022. But I will say though, a big thing that happened this past year was the split up, actually, or I say it's split up, but it's also just me going solo because we still all communicate. But um, in the quarter, like later quarter half of it's funny, quarter half of which one calls it 2020, we had recruited Mark and our buddy Phil, who actually runs his own Twitch right now at Motion Man 64. But during that time, he was pretty much like with us as a group, for him to kind of learn all the like ins and outs of doing live stream and content creation on that front. And during that time, we all just kind of went in on Twitch here specifically, and we saw the channel just grow, and it was astounding to see that, and it was so much hype. It was unfortunate though that the issue being was that we couldn't keep that consistent for long, because of the not so supportive backing of my folks when it came to working, doing all this kind of stuff, like while I have a job, but kind of rely on the rest of the group. And I personally don't have an issue with it, but I understand that I'm being pressured like on one end to completely sever those ties. Well, not like, well, I shouldn't say that like severely, like it's a Sasuke arc, but to just cut out like working as a group like that, or moreover, having the office space. If you guys don't remember, we had the office space for since the beginning of 2020, and then a little bit of like 2021. And the long story short, I had to like give up the place, because if I didn't, that was always going to look bad on my folk. Like, and you know, like I have this interesting relationship where as long as I'm doing my stuff and I'm doing just fine, then it's fine. But this little bit of information where it's like I'm renting something, and the numbers aren't like showing like immediately, it's an issue for them. So then as a result, I had to leave. But the space has then been pretty much inherited to Anaya, who's he's kind of working his own thing right now, but effective like next year, he is definitely going to go in and he's going to be making great use of that space. So looking forward to seeing how things progress on that end, and hopefully see some collaboration as well. So where was I going with that? Yeah, that's actually one of the things that did happen. So as a result, somewhere around either between like February or April, I had to work, or I shouldn't say work. I had to do live streaming, just content creation, just independently. I had to kind of go back to like my main roots of just doing things solo, you know, minus the whole manga stream like covers with Mark, for example. That's been still very consistent. But for everything else has been just kind of me. And I feel like personally, I've just kind of lost a lot of, I guess, passion, just kind of working through some of these things, because at this time, like after just like splitting, like off from the office space, the constant like pressures of work kind of being a little bit more strenuous over time, and trying to balance all that with like content creation, but also having my own free time has been kind of an issue for me. So admittedly, that's kind of been a setback, and I think it's kind of done a bit of an issue, or has done a mark into, I guess, the consistency of me posting stuff. So I wanted to take this time to really put down like something that works for me, like for the best, because I do want to see improvements like across all boards, because after some time, and I think this has been happening for the past month or two, we haven't really seen much growth on the channel, just like across, and it's a little discouraging. I'm just gonna admit that, but I think I know what I need to do. I am going that, excuse me, I have a plan, right? And actually, I'm going to remove the scarf. It's actually getting really, really warm for this. I have a plan, and it's going to involve short form content in the form of like shorter stuff, like TikTok videos and stuff like that. So that's what I'm kind of like leaning towards right now. I just have gotten to a point as well where I can't continually add stuff onto this plate, knowing that like I'm very limited in what I can do time frame wise. So I need to take some time to really think about like how I can manage my time like even better to uh, incorporate like something brand new into the mix, and also not have it interfere with anything I post regularly on all the other platforms. At the same time, I also need to bolster up those ones as well. Um, it's gonna take a little bit of adjustments, but I think I know where I want to go as far as like a step forward in that. Um, Not to cut in between that flow of the conversation, I did want to take a look back at actually some of the New Year's resolutions that I had in mind, because the ones I'm going into for 2022 kind of involves the things I'm about to talk about right now. But I did want to talk about 2021's resolutions because I had totally remembered that I had written those down somewhere. So after like looking through my notes and everything like that, I found something where it's like, okay, here's a list of my resolutions. Oh, here's the ones from like way back then. Here's way back then, or well, here's the ones from 2020. Gonna be 100% honest. Um, I had 2021's New Year's resolutions pretty low. Like there was like very few of them. I essentially had found only two, which was like a YouTube goal and a Twitch goal. YouTube was pretty much just, you know, nothing like truly ambitious. Just be consistent with your postings. Don't lose passion for content creation. A little bit mixed on that. I was saying that like I kind of lost that drive for like on the YouTube front because I didn't know what I wanted to do with YouTube. Because now that Twitch is the thing, I kind of like focus a lot on my stuff there. Because live streaming does commit like a couple hours like each week. I didn't really know what to do with YouTube that would help it just kind of like bring yourself up. I think maybe YouTube Shorts would be like the right approach to go with. I just don't know if I really want to commit fully through, if that makes sense. Because I just had the thought of it like in mind right now. But I could think about that later. The next one was definitely like to reach partnership on Twitch. And we kind of got there in the form of like as an affiliate channel. So I am very happy about that. As far as being a full Twitch partner, as you guys know, and I think, yeah, it should not have changed since I last talked about it. But wait, hold on. Can you guys hear that? Wow, you can't hear it. Rain's going off in the back. I'll probably close the window though. Be right back. Oh man, I just caught it. It was getting louder, and I was like, "Oh no, that's not good." But let's see. Is everything good here? Yeah, everything's good. Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah. So Twitch partnerships, as I recall, you need to have a certain number of followers, right? I believe up to just 70. No, it was a certain. It was nah. Sorry, I'm trying to like really think about it like from the top of my head. There's a specific number you need to reach as far as hours that you stream like each month, or each week. It could be either or. But you have to have a consistent viewership of 75 like viewers. That's kind of like the biggest thing. Kind of like one of the biggest issues in like obstacles that we have to confront. But that's gonna have to be the thing that I'm gonna have to carry over into 2022's New Year's resolutions. I have them like right here. There's a general one. The first one is actually going to pivot a little bit more my focus towards short form content, in the sense that I want to like bolster up a lot of the nice little things that happen in between these streams and other like things along the way that we post as content, and push it over to another place that has better algorithm, something that can get people to see it, and then if they really like the stuff, they can follow there, and then later on they can follow over to other platforms as well as we redirect them. So that's kind of my plan, because one of the biggest issues that we're coming across is what was it? Discoverability. There's just a lot of people out there, and understandably, not a lot of people don't really like find this platform. So I had to think about that a lot, and yeah, we're gonna have to go over and do more short form content going forward. And I kind of am kind of amped up for it. I've only done like so far six TikTok videos, and I'm actually kind of enjoying the editing process for that. I don't really find myself doing a lot of edits here and there. Nothing like so demanding, but these TikTok videos definitely are kind of changing the way I look at things and how I edit, which has kind of been like a nice change of pace. So I think I'd really like to just kind of continue forward with that. So for now, post that on TikTok. Probably also do it for YouTube as well. I just don't know if I want or how I want to do that. So that's something I'm gonna have to think about. But also the next thing I'd have to put on my New Year's resolution is to again reach a Twitch partner. As far as any other whatchamacallit, any other goals that I had in mind, I don't actually have any more, but I'm pretty sure I can always just add more like as the year goes on if I need to. But that's pretty much everything as far as like the year in review, as far as content creation and stuff like that. So just in short, it's been kind of like a rough year for me, having gone through that transition and having to look at things critically after performance hasn't been too low. Also thinking about how my time management has not really been like in place. There's no good foundation for it because I can't find that balance between, like work, YouTube, the free time. But I believe now that I've like addressed that kind of stuff, I acknowledge that that's becoming an issue. Taking that into account and really actively thinking about how I want to rearrange that kind of stuff, especially when you want to add in more short form content. I think that will definitely help out. I just have to take some time to even think about that. So that's it as far as the content creation part of it. I do want to talk about something that I actually do really want to talk about, and that would be, I actually had it open up. I have to open it again. I was trying to get something cool. Oh, you know what? I totally forgot to talk about this. You may notice something different about the space right now, and that's actually, if I can raise my arm right here, these. What do we call? There's no particular like name that I have for these, but these are pretty much figure stands. I got these from my brother this morning, and I just like put them up. You can't really see them from here as far as like the details, but they are you think they're hexagonal like stands, or yeah, they're hexagon shaped stands with varying heights, pretty much just to help show off your figures a little bit better. Let me see if I can actually show it to you guys from here. So this is what they look like, just without what was going on here. Oh cool. Oh cool, it's a deal for a game that I don't want. But that's what they look like, and this is just kind of like an up close like look at them. Still really hard to really see that. But it looks a lot nicer than what I had in mind. Now granted, I will give myself some credit. Using the cups, which are actually like right here, and the cups right over here, was not a bad idea as far as just incorporate them as like levels and stuff like that. But I do like that better. Looks way nicer. Debating whether or not I want to get more of those. We'll see. I have no intention of getting any more of those. Also, apologies on the voice today. This is probably not like attributed to it, but I actually got like my booster shot 2 days ago. Yesterday was a complete recovery period for me. So there was no stream from like last night, but I was feeling this in the back of my throat this morning, so I was like, ugh. I'm not sure if that's just the usual thing or not. It's also because of the fact that like, because without like another person doing the full conversation like back to back to back to back for this podcast will do that to you. So what was I gonna say? So that was the whole Christmas bit right there. What I really wanted to talk about actually was the year in review for games I played in 2021. There's quite a number of them. Not a lot of that came out this year, but there are some there. I have the entire like spreadsheet as far as backlogs here, and I think it's pretty much up to date. There's a bunch of like games I have listed here that haven't really been touched up on, but there's a fair number that I actually went through and actually beat the game. One of them I actually went and completed, but well, I guess I don't know if this one's completed or not. Anyway, let me go ahead and just go through all of them like alphabetically, right? And I'll say my piece on each one as we go through. So alphabetically, I went through and beat Atelier Ryza 1 and Ryza 2. The first one I have it listed here that I actually beat the game April 11th of 2021. And for Ryza 2, I had a big gap in between, but I did beat that one in November 13th. So just last month actually. But all I can say is yeah, like I didn't expect myself to ever like pick up this game. It really was thanks to Phil that I was like, okay, I guess I'll finally give it a shot. And honestly, I do not regret it. Like, those two are great JRPGs, like for sure. Definitely recommend it. It may look like it's so under budget, and one might argue it might be, but all other facets, like as far as aside from like the visual stuff of it, I would say like really hold up. It's really, really good. So I definitely recommend that for sure, especially with its approach to just like the battle mechanics, and then also as an aside, but also very integral to the whole like battle process as you go and level up and you progress further into the game. The alchemy system as well it's not too complex, but definitely like you need to take a couple like look backs on it. You may need to look at like an actual YouTube video to understand what that stuff is, and I don't blame you. So when you look through that kind of stuff, just be aware that the alchemy system can be a little complex, even if it is maybe noted as like less complicated than others and other works of it. But I definitely recommend it all the same. I also picked up this one this year. It's Azure Striker Gunvolt Striker Pack. It includes pretty much Azure Striker Gunvolt 1 and 2, and I beat the first one on stream as of August 22nd, 2021. Y'all know I love Mega Man, and when NT Creates picked up like Mega Man Zero, I love that series, and then they had Mega Man ZX, ZX Advent. I like both games, ZX definitely more so, but at that point like I was pretty much signed up with like whatever NT Creates does for Mega Man like things, I'm in. And Azure Striker Gunvolt is definitely one of those that still like holds up to that, even if it isn't Mega Man. But it borrows a lot of the visual like aesthetics and elements that you'd see in the other previous Mega Man works that they've done. So it's one of those that like, if you want to like have that type of experience playing a Mega Man game, pretty much like from like the Mega Man like Zero and ZX like series, one, they do have a collection for that, and two, you can also jump into the Azure Striker Gunvolt series, and you'll definitely enjoy that too. I will say that I think a drawback to it is that I think as far as like character development stuff, it's not too strong, because apparently there's a lot of stuff that happens in between, and the game is so focused on the gameplay, which is not a bad thing per se. But as far as like knowing what the characters go through and like their motivations and everything, is much more just like buried underneath like the surface. So you have to actually like dig through a lot of like some of the hidden dialogue in between, or sometimes you have to replay it a couple times, or even just look it up. So that's my only gripe about it. Otherwise, the gameplay is just solid. I love the aspect of it being that it's score based, and the score is ramped up each time that you just can't do any action, but you lose it after you take damage. So I think that's a great thing to make it, like, as far as replay value, to have this in place where the gameplay can be like super satisfying and everything like that. But you have to go in and perform pretty well for it. But oh, there's Mark in the chat. He was saying, oh yeah, this is one thing that he actually got for Christmas. But he's saying that I finally have a Series X, perfectly balanced. Hold on. Damn, I don't have a pen on me. How about this USB? Perfectly balanced. As all things be once again. And Mark says, having a good day with my fiance. Okay, that's another thing. So pretty much to confirm it with Mark, yeah, he proposed to his girlfriend, I believe yesterday. And so, as you could probably tell, that went well, very well. So yeah, Mark, I didn't want to just like blurb it out. I just wanted to like, it would have to be a confirmation from you before I actually share that. We're going through the list of games I played of 2021 alphabetically when they were finished, and just a little blurb about them in general. So what was it? Blaster Master 0, 2, and 3 are the next games, like chronologically, on this listing. I cleared 0, 2, February 21st of this year. And Blaster Master 0, 3, that one was cleared actually this past month, December 12th, 2021. So y'all know the story. I'll keep it pretty brief. I played Blaster Master 01 as one of the first like games to come out on the Switch on its release date, if not soon after. Because at the time there wasn't really a lot of games that came out for like first party games that came out for the Switch. So we went through the eShop and we just downloaded like one of these games. I'll give you a funny little add to it. I think I wasn't the one who like physically hit the purchase button on that one. I think it was Gabe, because we were looking at games to pick up, and I ended up loving the game anyway. It's kind of like Blaster Master 0, and this goes for all three of the games. They are Metroidvania in their own right, in the sense that they have portions of platforming, like when you're in your tank, your vehicle, and there's also top-down portions that kind of play just like top-downs, like Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, Link Between Worlds, but each of those aspects get improved like with each iteration of the game. I personally got into it because they had a bit of a narrative that was strongly like character driven, and by the end of the first one I was like, I am already hooked. Blaster Master 02 followed the story of Jason and like the frog Fred. It's funny that like Fred was kind of like a strong thing that happened. And then Eve, after the first game, got infected with like the mutant that they fought off on Earth. They hatched the plan to go to the planet Sophia, where Eve came from originally, to have her healed. And so the second game was just them space traveling from Earth to Sophia in order to find a cure. The third one is them reaching planet Sophia, but them being abducted for an in a questionable like manner. Jason breaks free, Eve is missing, and the story starts from there. But it's strongly like focused on those two, and I guess as a general like full front side, it's like I really enjoyed it. Like all of them. Stephanie was crying for Mark's proposal, by the way. Yes. So yes, Blast Messenger 3 has already been finished. It's interesting because the completion of the game doesn't isn't the factor in which you beat the game and find the best ending, which is weird because that's exactly what happened. Was like, well, the exact opposite happened in the first one and the second one. The third one just required you to do a button prompt, and that's your perfect ending after a mission. It was pretty difficult though. I loved it for that, actually. You can still see the VOD of it, but it's great. I loved it. Beeblings here, Merry Christmas, by the way. Thank you. Hope everyone's been having a happy holiday. I'm glad you guys are on board here. I'm not gonna lie though, the beginning of this podcast was kind of low-key depressing because I was talking about the reflections of me and the channel and how I need to like change things up a little bit, get past this little plateau I'm going through. But now we're talking about the good stuff. We're talking about games completed in 2021, not necessarily games of 2021, just games in general. Mark was saying that I've been playing some MK11 after he came out on Game Pass. Android 21 with their lab code coming to fighters, which makes her a whole new character without her tail because it used to be a lot of her moves. So I'm very interested in seeing what she's going to do with Lab 21. Also, Beefling sub. Wait, did I not get the alert for that? That's interesting. Also, let me check. It should show up here. Oh, you know what? It's kind of interesting because with like reoccurring subs, you actually have to send out some kind of notification like in the chat to have that pop up right here. Otherwise the number will just kind of like show up. There you go. Beaver gift this sub to Mark. Thank you, by the way. Saving them from the ads. You're a great one for that. Also send the Kirby. I love that. Yep. The Kirby emotes. It's great. I will say, I'll take a quick aside from like my general listing here. Cool that you're playing MK11. Super interesting that like Android 21 is just showing up out of the blue. Really thinking that like Fighters 2 was going to be a thing. Not yet though. There was no confirmation of like or any type of development news about a second one, but okay. I mean, listen, they are keeping this like train afloat with like the addition of like a new character. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Honestly, like the aesthetic for whatchamacallit for Fighters is so strong. You can just stay there. Much like a lot of the other games like Blaze Blue and whatnot. But still, it's very strong. Speaking of Blaze Blue, I remember that there was news like a while ago about like them like part like in like important, not any of those integrated like actually backwards compatibility, or sorry, not backwards compatibility, rollback netcode, which was crazy to hear. Like here I am listening to Maximilian Duty, and he's talking about how it takes so much time and so much money to just go in and just add in like rollback netcode versus just implementing it from the start. Those games just had like a delay based netcode. And again, from what I heard, it takes a lot to implement that in. And all of a sudden, here comes like Blaze Blue with the brand new rollback netcode, and that's so wild. But it works for them because they're old games, yes, but the art style, the aesthetic is just really good. Like really good like art style like carries a game forward. Like I'm thinking about like Okami, I'm thinking about like Wind Waker. Like granted though, I think Okami needs to be put to rest. But and you know, To be fair, I just never really got around to playing it, but um yeah, I think that like it has a amazing art style to it. But I also say the same thing about Wind Waker as well. Mark says, "Do I love a sequel to Fighters, man, or continuing just more support of Fighters in general?" Understandable. It's just like there was so much love and like care put to that game, and I can kind of just see why they wouldn't want to stop the support for that game, even if it is to move on to a sequel for it. I think the only thing they would have to improve on is just like different like aspects of the game that isn't just like the fighting mechanics. Granted, I'm not too well versed in that to know or tell you like what could be like improved upon. Just a bunch of patches, I would say. Um, but I want to let me carry forward with the next game listed here. So we went through Atelier Horizon 1 and 2. We talked about Zero Striker Gunvolt pack. I only beat the first one, but I do have it listed here for games completed. So I'm just going to be like, let's slide that in there. Blasphemous 0, 2, and 3. 3 was kind of interesting in the sense that I had to get the physical through limited run. And they have a 4 to 5 month period of waiting before you can receive that copy. And I definitely waited the 5 months. Let me tell you that. And that's after pre-orders have ended. And I pre-ordered that bitch like day one. It was available. Death's Door was the next one. Sephi had sung some really good praises about the game, so I was like, I gotta play it in time for like 2021 to end, and I finished it last month, November 28th of 2021. This was done off camera actually, and pretty much it's just kind of a how should I describe it? Oh yeah, has anyone played Moonlighter? It's kind of like that. Moonlighter kind of like borrows a lot of elements from Link to the like a Link to the I don't know why I want to say Plast. A Link to the Past of gameplay as far as just like the top down orientation. Both of them kind of shared like the slash elements, but Moonlighter and Death's Door have like a dodge mechanic that's added in here. What Death's Door does separately is they have like a magic type of system where you have a limited number of like slots to expend spells like with, and in order to regain those you actually have to like go up close and deal melee damage to your enemy in order to fill that back up, and you can pretty much loop the cycle over and over again so that you never fully heavily rely on magic stuff, but you can also solely just rely on the physical stuff, but it's up to player's choice. I certainly enjoyed it. The characters were like definitely a blast to go through. I love specifically the witch. I think her name was Ern. Pretty much her whole thing is just urns, and that they found a way to defeat death by living forever, but they have to replace their heads with pots and urns. But there was a nice little bit where like the only textual thing that she put on screen was "you little shit," and I was like, this is it. This game is peaked. Like, it's got comedy in every facet. It's definitely a wonderful one. If you I was gonna say, I would say that the game can be a bit challenging for sure, but I don't think it's like the hardest thing in the world for sure. But I would still recommend it all the same. I love the music in the game. I love it gives you a weird sense of like isolation. Even though you have a return point that is just filled with like a bunch of people, right? Or a fair number of people they can talk to. Not every like thing out there is like an enemy. There's actually like some NPCs they can talk to here and there. But it does kind of pick from the souls like genre in the sense that when you defeat enemies you get their souls and you expend those souls for upgrades in 4 categories. There's like one for strength, the speed of your spells, your reload, Rolling Speed, I think, was one of those. They all kind of melt together, so it's great. Like I love that, like, you can really approach it like in any other way. So I definitely specced out on a lot of strength. You think magic, but in this case, I was like, I gotta, like, if I'm going to rely on melee for refilling, I might as well rely on melee, period. So let's go with that. The next game, chronologically on this listing, they're all alphabetical specifically, is Donut County. Is a game that I actually like did a live stream on in April 20th, 2021. Donut County is a very, very short game. It's just dealing with you as a raccoon piloting this little like drone that's able to create little holes in the world, and you literally just suck up everything on screen with each level. And then there's this like a surprisingly, like, I wouldn't say deep narrative because it isn't like that, but there's a lot of dialogue as you go through. So what starts off as just kind of like a mindless game of just like, oh, let's see if I can fit this through this hole right here. Oh, I did. Turns out to be something like slightly bigger. I wouldn't say like it's that dynamic, but it's still a fun thing to go through. It's one of the games I was questioning to myself, am I completing the game? Because I literally feel that like I got everything, and there's no like percentage that you get per se. So I don't know if I actually like completed that game, you know? So I'll just leave it at that. I beat the game. I'm happy about it. I had a good time. I'm glad I picked up the physical for it. We're good. The next game is Doom Eternal. I beat this game September 19th of 2021, and it was, hold on. Yeah, it was the first game that I ever got to play with the Elite Series 2 controller. And my god, was that a great idea. Because here's the problem. It's a game about running and gunning. Like, always running and gunning. So, with the Elite Series 2, specifically with the back pedals, I had these mapped out pretty much exactly how the A, B, X, and Y buttons are laid out. So, A is down here, B is right here, X is up here, Y is up here. Pretty much for the best for me to remember where they are, because my right stick was pretty much just married to that like right stick, because you're moving around, and so you gotta keep that aim like always going. And I felt like that was the best way to go about it. I also just had like the triggers like set to a short hair like type of thing, so they're just button inputs instead of like full on triggers. I can change those at any time, and I think that's a great thing about the controller if you want to. But I just normally just keep it to this like the most sensitive setting, so that like you're just pressing a button at that point. So this was a great like investment like for that, and just any other first person shooters for sure going forward. That includes Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite, by the way, it's not included on this one. I still haven't beaten the campaign, so I can't really say. But I have played it, though. But yeah, Doom Eternal, just a lot of fun. It adds to, like, Doom 1, but it takes a lot of liberties, I would say. It definitely spans off a little bit more so than Doom, like, 2016. I think for good reasons, but there's some that I can understand why it'd be, like, a little different. I think with Doom 2016, I think that one like had that more of a sense of isolation, and I just kind of like that atmosphere a little bit more than the story that they're building up to. I like the lore, but I also kind of like Doom Eternal, or sorry, I kind of like Doom 2016 for kind of like for that like lack of story depth. Instead, it's just simply like a Doom guy going in there and just shooting like demons up in space, whether it be Mars or Hell. Like, I kind of like the simplicity of that. But there's a lot of cool things about Doom Eternal as far as like all the weapon mechanics and just like the additive exploration of the game that I also really like about that too. As well as like the hub world. I forget what it's called. It's pretty much just like your base of operations. You can literally just go around and use like the things you collected and you just like unlock more stuff. Mainly like visual aesthetics. But there's also like things to like get like upgrades and whatnot. So really like that. This is kind of weird. This is the DLC, but it's Final Fantasy VII Remake Intermission. Although, wait, yeah, Intermission's actually like the name of like the DLC. But as a whole package, it's called Intergrade, which is pretty much the PlayStation 5 version of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Also, shoutouts to well, kind of. Well, I'll still say shoutouts to Epic Game Store like players or just PC players in general. You guys are able to play that, but I hear that like the PC port is kind of like the worst port for this AAA game. So also sorry about that. But Intermission follows the I didn't even say. I played and finished that game as of June 26th, 2021. Actually took me a couple more like streams for sure to get through Intermission, but essentially you follow a story that's hidden like in the middle of Final Fantasy VII Remake, following Yuffie, who's actually a character that will show up definitely in part 2. But she is in the base game of just general Final Fantasy VII. But you get to follow her as she infiltrates Midgar in search of this secret materia. She gets to team up with one partner, and the both of you just kind of go through just with different mechanics that's not been shown into the previous game, and you just have a lot of fun with that. They also have like a little mini game called I think it's just Fort Condor, yeah, and that's just like a little game in and of itself, and I actually ended up enjoying it quite a lot for like it's pretty much this real-time like strategy like aspect of it, so it's definitely a good little fun thing. The only problem is that in order to play the game, you have to get like Remake or just get the entire package. So yeah, it's not a full game, but I had to give it like I definitely had to like throw it in there because not only is like the gameplay for just playing as Yuffie just like really good, but the music is really good. The only problem is that it's not on Spotify. That's my only it's my only gripe. You wonder why it's not on my Spotify rep? It's because it's not even readily available over there. You the only issue is, well, the thing is that they do have like 7 remakes music there. They just don't have integrate stuff in there. Well, I can buy it through like iTunes. I can do that. I'm debating it though. Here's another two pair. These are kind of back to back. But this is us doing coverage on Gears of War 4 and 5. Shouts to Mark, shouts to Phil, aka Motion Man 64 on Twitch. They helped me out big time when doing this because both games have cooperative play onto it, and so we played through the campaign through co-op, and we just had a blast going through the game. I would say that definitely Gears 5 was definitely the most polished. I did end up going back to these games and buying them physical. Both of them were, I think they were I just buy pre-owned versions of those games. But I finished Gears 4 of January 20th, 2021, in Gears 5 March 3rd of 2021. And I do remember, yeah, those were back to back for sure. But I just loved like Gears like campaign. I felt like the story was really strong in the first 3. 4 was interesting. I think 4 just made like a good like introduction to this upcoming trilogy, if you will. And Gears 5 is well, still the more supported like game, and I don't think they'll really stop until like later on. I think until maybe like Coalition like figures out their works with, I forget what they were working on now, but I don't know if we'll get a Gears 6 anytime soon. All I know is that Gears 5 is pretty much as polished as we can see any like Gears game like right now. So it is what it is. But I will say generally I liked both of them. I remember Gears 5 a little bit more so because um it's the one that kind of supported HDR and all that stuff, and it was one that I tried doing some test recordings through HDR and found that that wasn't the greatest thing. I was gonna say OBS does not like HDR, I'll tell you that. So y'all who have like HDR capabilities of recording stuff, as far as like streaming that, just wait. Just wait. I get a lot of flack for this one, but I will say, well, what I mean, I get a lot of flack. I just mean mainly from Mark. Hades is the next thing I wanted to put down. As far as me like completing my the actual escape like route for Hades, I did that in February, like February 13th of 2021. Hades is like the most favorable games I would say in 2020. So it isn't a game that came out in 2021. I just so happened to finish it like at that point. It's really good. Supergiant Games. Soundtrack is amazing. Its whole roguelike mechanics is amazing. There's a lot of replay value. I said that I finished the first route. Mark argues that, you know, as far as like actually like beating and completing the game, well, I shouldn't say completing, but like beating the game requires several runs in, like maybe 10 or so, to get like a good gist of the story, and then you can continue doing that. Understandable, right? Because escaping the one time doesn't like complete the story, like, right? There's a lot more to it. So I understand that. I still like argue that like as far as like finishing that first main objective grants you the right to say that like I at least cleared through the first run. That's it. That's all I can say. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is the next thing I got. I actually picked up the physical for that one because I actually pre-ordered digitally. But I did beat that January 6th, 2021. It says so right here on my list. I don't know if there was another time that I didn't do it at that point, but most likely I probably picked it up like somewhere near the end of December or something like that. Age of Calamity is actually my first introduction to the Warriors games. The next game that I have that I will probably try to pick it up is Fire Emblem Warriors. Probably will do that off camera. But having said that though, I did stream this. I did beat this in January. I will say for a game that's like the least performance optimized, I only say the least because this thing literally drops frames like crazy, and it literally caps out at like 15 to 20 frames per second sometimes. It's pretty bad, but still enjoyable all the same. The Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamities, it's really, really, really good. As far as just kind of giving you like a different narrative of like the time frame of Breath of the Wild, because this takes place like 100 years prior to Breath of the Wild. And it just kind of gives you a different perspective of everything. I won't say anything else aside from that if you want to try it out yourself, but I did see it on sale. I don't know if it's still on sale for now, but if you just like hack and slash, if you like to beat the hell out of enemies, but you like customization as far as like different characters and stuff like that, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Kirby Star Allies was a game that I beat like off camera, but this was September like 2nd, 2021. So I picked up Kirby Star Allies for obvious reasons, and well, first of all, I gotta tell you, like, as far as like the presentation, it's probably the best thing I've ever seen of any Kirby game that I've seen thus far. So I'm looking forward to Forgotten Land, which comes out spring of 2022 as far as what we know. But it pretty much follows the same formula as any other like platforming Kirby game. It's just that the scope just feels so gigantic as far as like the hub worlds, because the hub worlds have like different aspects of them. You'll start off with like why do I blank out on the name of this actual world? Pretty much, I guess just Dreamland, really. So you just like kind of walk around the map of Dreamland like it's Mario 3D World, right? And then they scope it out a little bit farther out. They focus in on another place, and then they scope it out even farther. And that's pretty much the end of that. But like, it's huge, it's immense. The hub world will give you this sense of like, should I say ambiguity? Not really, but it gives a sense of scale that's so large. But it is like at the core, you're just playing like these 2D maps, and there's a lot of collectibles in it for sure. I personally didn't get into that, but it's still really cool to just know that there's a lot of replay value as far as like going through and make sure you get everything. There's also a bunch of mini games put into it, and it has a version of Timberman Versus, right? That Naya kind of plays on and off quite a bit. So I'm not sure if I talked to Anaya about that, but that's so funny. The next one I gotta talk about it's called Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. That one was so weird. Oh, I guess I scroll and it skips too. Okay, that's what happens. That's I did that one and finished it June 14th of 2021. Apologies, guys. My voice is like lacking near the portion or this portion of the podcast as I go through each and every game. But yeah, no. Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle it's actually pretty good. You wouldn't expect it, but it's actually really good. For something that was like collab with Ubisoft, and it's surprising to have a sequel actually. But it is a strategy game. I kind of like went for it because I do like that sense of strategy. It reminds me a lot of Fire Emblem, so I was just like, okay, there's also like a cover based system like along with it. So I played that on stream. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I am just looking forward to this next one. And if you're a fan of just like strategy games, but you also like Mario, and you may like Rabbids. You don't have to like the Rabbids, but if you like Mario, at least, definitely recommend that. Next one's Metroid Dread. I don't need to say anything about Metroid Dread. No, Metroid Dread, whatchamacallit, I finished this one like in October 11th, 2021. So it was just like some few days like after the release of the game. It's really, guys, it's really, really good. Support the Metroid franchise. Buy Metroid Dread. Play it, beat it, buy it first. Do whatever you want afterwards. It's great. Metroid Samus Returns. I'd actually played that August 1st, 2021. That's a 3DS title. I actually went back and downloaded that on my 3DS and played through it in full. It's not as I would say it's not as engaging as Metroid Dread. Samus Returns originates as like a remake to Metroid like Return of Samus or Metroid 2. It deals with progression in an interesting way. I would say that's the pacing as far as like the feeling of needing to go back and like rediscover things as a Metroidvania, you know. It felt like there was a lot more time of me kind of wandering off because I didn't know what to do, a lot more than I did with Metroid Dread. I did have some issues with Metroid Dread though, as far as going back here and there, but very much more minimal than Metroid Samus Returns. And that was my only gripe about it, was that some things were a little bit more like hidden and tucked away than like I expected, all like specifically from the story progression of things and not like trying to pick up every single thing. But I still enjoyed it. That one I definitely did off camera. I didn't want to do a stream of it because I don't actually have a good setup for like streaming like 3DS games. Um, I can kind of do something like that, but it requires quite a bit of work with that. Um, I'm gonna take a quick water break. What's the next one? Monster Hunter Rise. I don't need to say anything about that one. Just kidding. So I have this question mark because there's DLC involved here, but without DLC or anything like that, I think I cleared through the main quest line of things in April of 2021. I guess I didn't have like an exact date for it. Um, but yo, Monster Hunter Rise is such a great game. It streamlines the whole Monster Hunter like system, as well as make it like incredibly multiplayer friendly. And I can't say enough. Like it's really good. It's also like it was kind of like a console exclusive for Switch. And having said that though, I'm sorry guys, losing my voice. You're gonna have to bear with me. Um, it's really good. It performs really well. It's capped at 30 frames, but keeps it consistent at 30 frames. So it's a really good experience on Switch if you haven't gotten it yet. But you can also get it on like Steam. So I mean, like, it's great. Wait, is the Steam one out already? I actually have no idea. Also, probably speed the process up right now. Rise PC. Oh, sorry. It's supposedly January 12th of next year, so just gotta wait just a little bit. I just know that there was like a demo for it. I didn't hear anyone's take on that though. But oh well. It's still available on Switch. You can definitely get the Switch version. It's super great. It's super great. Moonlighter. I finished that June 17th, 2021. I talked about Moonlighter when comparing it to Death's Door. It's pretty much a different take on A Link to the Past gameplay. Top down. I guess it's roguelike because the dungeons keep like changing slightly with each run. But so it's kind of a mix of that. And as a result, looking at it, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, there was a lot of interesting aspects of that one. I'm not going to go into detail as far as like every single thing because voice. But it's a really good one. Recommend that one. It's usually on sale too. If not, it's already cheaper now. I think it's also on Game Pass too. So that's how I kind of played through it. So definitely recommend it. Oh my god. This is the this one was definitely off camera, but Ori and the Blind Forest and Will the Wisp. Finished the first one August 8th, and Will the Wisp I finished August 12th. Yeah, this is like literally back to back. Dude, the Ori games are so good. If you haven't yet, go get the collection on Switch. Otherwise, get it like on Xbox. Like, dude, don't miss out, bro. Like, they're really good. What? I'm here like thinking like, how did I skip this? How did I not like jump into this game at any point? It's aesthetically like so pleasing. The music is phenomenal. The story will break your heart, sure. But aside from that, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful game. Both of them. Pikmin 3 Deluxe was the next one I played through. Actually, it was probably close around the time that I had finished like Will the Wisp, because I beat this game and it was on stream. September 13th, 2021. It was my first take on a Pikmin game, and I actually really liked it a lot. I honestly wish to see more of those, but time will tell. So if you never like played a Pikmin game, Pikmin 3 definitely just do it. Just do it. It teaches you appropriate bits about like time management with limited teamwork and stuff like that. If you have another person to play with, all the better. But you can definitely just play it on your own too. All right, Scarlet Nexus. Holy shit! Pre-order day one. I actually just placed an order for the physical today because there was a sale. Oh, I actually complete. This is the one game that I actually like. Out of the few, I actually completed. I completed the game later that month, so I beat the game July 2nd, right? And then I completed the game July 23rd, 2021. Um, it is pretty much an action JRPG. Um, I like the story. I think it's a pretty compelling story as far as just like keeping you kind of in the dark of like what hidden things are out there, and there's quite a bit of hidden things too. Um, as is a lot of like anime tropes here and there, but it's great. It's really good. Like I, whether you get it for like Xbox, where you get it for PlayStation or PC, just go support the franchise. Tell Bandai Namco and whatever team is making this game that like this is the right call. Keep working on this. That's it. That's all I gotta say. Like it's good. So anyway, um, playing through Sonic Generations and Sonic Unleashed. Those are the next things. And I actually played Generations first and Unleashed second. Um, Sonic Generations, I played and then beat the game. I beat that one like late June 28th, 2021. Generations I actually liked, generally speaking. I had an issue though. I never experienced it before, but I have to just say it. I think I've experienced severe like input lag in Generations than I did with Unleashed. As far as um the immediate jump prompt, like I don't know what it was, but I found myself not getting like a good register for my jump button when I needed it. Like when I needed it. So that was my only issue with Generations. I just like Generations as kind of a look back on the previous Sonic games from like each generation, hence Generations. But I do feel like, as a fair number of other people might say, that does need to look at other like levels instead of like look at the same, because we had city levels back to back to back, and I think they could have like really like picked out from like other ones as well. But Unleashed, um, that actually had really good input on it. The only downside is that it had werehog stages. And here's the thing about the werehog stages: it's not that like it's the most intolerable thing, right? I think it is tolerable, but the fact that like you have to like collect a certain number of medals in order to progress into the next thing can kind of be like incredibly infuriating near the second portion of the game, because you're finding yourself like, okay, I just need to do this and do this, or at least like starting off you just like play through the game normally and you just access levels immediately, but at a certain point they stop you. Apologies for the scratching nose, by the way. I've been doing that a lot. um they they will demand you to collect a certain number of sun medals and a certain number of moon medals. Chances are you're missing out on both. So you have to go through like other stages to find more of these medals that are tucked away. Most of the time, they're tucked away from your eyes, from sight, generally speaking, on your first run of the stage. So you have to replay the levels again. And if you're me and you don't want to run through the warehouse stages a second time, you're going to have to go through them a second time. That's all I gotta say. It's only downside, honestly. I think that I would say that the daytime stages definitely were more of visual experience than they were like focused platforming. That's where Generations comes in, and it gets a lot of pluses for that. But I did like the Unleashed stages because or the daytime stages in Unleashed, because they were just really cool visually speaking. Yeah. All right. Spider-Man Miles Morales. I finished that one early January. That was the 9th of 2021. And honestly, like, there's not really much to say. Like, if you liked Spider-Man 2028, or sorry, 2018, yeah, no, you're gonna really like Miles Morales. It's shorter. Like, it's definitely a shorter game. Therefore, it only goes up to the $50 price tag. Um, but I really liked it too. It's a little bit glitchy though. I will say that it does get just a fair bit glitchy, like near the end, especially for the boss fight at the end. But it's a good game for sure, especially if you like 2018. Which, I mean, they do have like that deluxe edition, which has like Game of the Year, the Spider-Man 2018 like packaged like with it. So if you haven't, for sure, that's definitely a really good deal for like the PlayStation 5 version of Spider-Man. I mean, you do lose like 2018 like modeled Peter Parker, but still. Um, I will say Jedi Fallen Order was the next game that I finished. That was on Game Pass through EA. Finished that in January. I actually picked up the physical copy too. Really good. It's a Souls-like game, but with Star Wars elements to it. Dude, it's really good. Come on. Oh, here comes one that's more to memory. And we're almost done with this list, by the way. Tales of Symphonia. I played that on PC. Finished that December 6th, 2021. There's not really much I can say, especially since I felt like I committed a lot of my time just to play through this, like stream that. Um, Tales of Symphonia. It's really a really good start to just the Tales of series. It's a great introduction to it, but if it isn't, then it's totally fine if it isn't. I would say that the characters, though, actually I would say that the characters are really compelling in this one for sure. They all have like their different motives. There's a lot of new characters that kind of like show up in them like throughout the game, and they all have their different intentions, but they all kind of like unite together for an ultimate evil, and etc etc. But I really did like it for the engagement I personally had streaming it, especially since a lot of the English dialogue was locked away only for certain cutscenes. In the skits didn't have any voice options, so I ended up reading those, and I think that kind of helped with my engagement specifically. But I think it's still like really good all the same. So I say that for a series that kind of had that really interesting like action RPG mechanic in their like battle stuff, I think that was really cool too. But it was kind of limited. I noticed that. But I think they really like do away with that when you start focusing on the later Tales of games. So this is my only first one that I finished. I still got like the other like couple that I got to deal with, but so far I really enjoyed Symphonia for what it was. So if you ever come across it on sale on Steam, or just another third party that offers like a Steam code at a discounted price, that's kind of how I did it. Definitely recommend it. The next one, oh, what's this? Oh no, the Automata on sale. Oh no, oh no. Anyway, Link's Woke. Sorry, I should say Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. Remade a remake of the original Link's Awakening, but now ported on Switch. And I played that one. I beat it in March 7th, 2021, and whatchamacallit, it says I completed. I just don't have a date for that. I essentially completed like the normal mode of Link's Awakening probably the following year, if not late March. Honestly, it's what should I say about this one? It's really good, first and foremost. It's not a 2021 game, but I finished in 2021. It's good. I particularly just had like a thirst to just kind of like go through like a top-down Zelda game again. and this one pretty much delivered. Its art style makes it so it will carry. Like you'll, it's a game that you won't have to worry about for the rest of the Switch's life. Um, I would say that for someone who never played the original Link's Awakening, you could definitely just jump into this one. I think it's engaging enough. I think that the last portion of the game can be a little bit confusing. Excuse me. Um, but I think it's the most approachable Zelda game as far as just like what you need to do, your story objective, and everything like that. There's a lot more for collecting than there is required for you to beat the game. So I personally just enjoyed this one because like the music they added in there, the art style specifically, it's really good. And there's not really much else to say. It's just your standard top-down Zelda, and if you've never had any experience with that, this is your way to go through it because it's the most modern like take of it. So, as far as a remake, anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, that's all the games that I've like actually beaten slash completed in 2021. I guess I have to. Yeah, dude, this is gonna be the toughest one. Ranking them specifically, mainly just like a game of the year, I would say. Just like for me personally, that's tough because Atelier Rise like 1 and 2 are right there. I'm like, those are really good for my personal experience. Scarlet Nexus is right there. Also, Metroid Dread was there too. That's really tough, dude. Also, the Ori games. Oh my god, dude. You know what? Yeah, I was gonna say this is tough, but I think I already have my answer for this one. Yeah, I think I have my answer for this one already. I think my game of the year, and not just limited to 2021. I'm just talking about games that I have played in 2021. I think it would just have to go to. It has to go to Scarlet Nexus, and the reason for that is because I was so like attached to like the story and the characters and like just kind of everything as a whole, honestly. Like music was great, the mechanics of the like combat were great. um I think the level of like, should I say RPG-ness, it was there. It didn't feel too substantial though, and that's just because I kept upgrading whenever I could. Did I talk about story? Story's compelling enough for sure. There's a lot of like underlying things that when you play it once, either route, you're gonna be like, wait, what happened? What happened over here? And you play it the second time, you're like, oh, I get it. Um, and by the time you play through the second portion of the game, you're so close to just completing the game that you might as well do it. So that's why I completed the game, was because like there wasn't really much else there to do. Um, whatchamacalls it? And the character, this is definitely a character centric type of game. Both in the protagonists, Yuto and Kasane, but also just diving into the backgrounds of all the other characters. You might be someone who just doesn't care about that. That's understandable. But if you really want to bolster like the bonds, aka have access to other like additional upgrades when using like their SAS, then it's kind of a no-brainer. You just do things that work for them. And I would say that side questing is actually pretty simplistic too. So it never felt like a true like chore, except for one. But I won't talk about that one. But otherwise, I love the scope. I love this whole setting that they got going on. And I've just been keeping my eyes on like Scarlet Nexus since like the day one. But it was interesting because, you know, I know it's a Bandai Namco game and it's an action JRPG. So I didn't know what to expect, so I just kind of kept my expectations low. Then the demo came out and then more additional gameplay showed up. So I played the demo. I was really impressed. So this was definitely like, okay, for sure. But then like playing through the game and finally seeing the reviews of it, yep, it became my game of the year. So I mean that's just a personal take on mine. I see there's a bunch of games I have listed here, like Shin Megami Tensei, whatchamacallit, oh shit, there was also Bravely Default 2. There was also Demon Souls, all the Assassin's Creed, 13 Sentinels, all these games that I either, well, most of them I do have listed here that I own, but I just never had time to play them. That could have changed this list up dramatically, but that's just kind of how everything just played out. So having like my experience like laid out there, I would say that Scarlet Nexus is my game of the year. And I believe with the success that it's brought over, I really hope that Bandai Namco and just the team involved will be willing to do another Scarlet Nexus entry. I think I don't know if I'm not sure if I ever talked about like how they can go about that. Story wise, there is definitely like a path forward, but I will leave that as something to mark as a spoiler and will not talk about it in this particular podcast. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. So in review, the games I played, for as much as I could play of them, really good. There was a lot of really good games, and 2022 is shaping up to be a crazy one too. So I'm gonna keep on adding lists to like 2022 as far as games to play, and just keeping a track of those, and let you guys know that listing and how that goes so far. But I think that's pretty much everything. All right. We are now an hour and 30, or an hour and a half into this podcast. In review, we talked about a lot of things that happened over the past year. There's a lot of things I gotta work on, and I really want to really address those for myself. So I don't know how and when, but I will get there. And then the second portion was definitely just your games in review, as well as like kind of telling you guys the news about Mark's engagement. Congratulations, by the way, to Mark. But yeah, all right. In that case, I think that's pretty much it. I think that's gonna be it for this last podcast. So it's just funny because like I really like tuckered myself out on this one. But yeah, all right. So without further ado, we will call it here, and I think we will do a much more elaborative like breakdown of just 2021 next Saturday, actually, whether it be like on the next podcast or not. Those would all fall on the same day, but next podcast is actually going to be on the very day, January 1st January 1st of 2022. So with that, this is indeed the last podcast episode of 2021. So we will go ahead and sign off here. So I want to thank everyone for so much for joining in for this episode of DangIT Prodcast. This is episode 391. Excuse me. My name is Justin, and I'll see you guys in the next one. #bye, everyone.